Browns holding their final practice before their preseason home opener against the Commanders on Friday night, Mary Kay. And of course, the big news for Browns fans going to that game, and those of us who will be watching it, is the starters will play, and that means Deshaun Watson will play a series or two. It's going to depend on how many plays they run, Kevin Stefanski said. But if you want to see Deshaun Watson and the starting offense on Friday night, you're going to get to see them.
Yes, there is a reason to go to this game on Friday night. You will get to see Deshaun Watson play. Maybe a series, maybe two, maybe three, who knows. They're going to play that by ear a little bit. And then most of the rest of the starters will also play. So it should be great fun down at Cleveland Browns Stadium for the first time in a long time. And we'll see how it goes. I don't know for sure if Myles Garrett will play or if Nick Chubb will play, but certainly you should see some good fireworks between Deshaun and Elijah Moore.
Yeah, and actually for a lot of fans, this is going to be their first opportunity to see this passing attack. They haven't seen, of course, Deshaun since that Pittsburgh game and those rusty 6 games last year. This is sort of a chance for fans to see if it just looks completely different for Deshaun this season.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, too, this is the first time in general that a lot of fans, unless you've been coming out to training camp, are going to get to see what Mary Kay was talking about, Deshaun Watson and Elijah Moore. And just from hearing the talk on social media, obviously us being out here and watching those two, I think it's been one of the highlights of training camp so far. So to get to see them do that against another team, even if it's just for a series or two, I think it's something that is going to be different from last season.
Now, we probably, if I had to guess, I'd say Nick Chubb might not play on Friday night. I don't know for sure. One player we definitely won't see is Jerome Ford, Mary Kay. He is going to be week to week, and Kevin Stefanski did not rule out the possibility that he might not be ready for week 1 against Cincinnati. So the Browns have some decisions to make with that running back room, especially if Jerome is going to miss, say, 1 or 2 weeks to start the year.
Yeah, they certainly do. And I know the game plan for this week probably would have been to play a lot of Jerome Ford and take some of that pressure off Nick Chubb. So they probably would have started Jerome. They would have played Demetric Felton, John Kelly Jr., Hassan Hall. Now, maybe they do have to play Nick a little bit, or maybe they still won't. We're not too sure about that. But I did kind of find out yesterday that Jerome Ford's status for the opener was going to be uncertain, and lo and behold, that is the case. So he's standing out here today with a sleeve again on the hamstring area, and they need him. They need him back as soon as they can get him, because he is the Kareem Hunt this year, or at least we think he's going to take on some of those responsibilities. I think they're going to have to find maybe at least one more running back, maybe 2.
Yeah, Ashley, we talk so much about Nick Chubb and how much he gets used, and preserving him for what could be a 20-game-plus season. This is a challenge now if Jerome Ford's going to be out for a little bit.
Yeah, because if he is going to be out for a little bit in these games, what are you going to want to do? And especially when it gets to week 1, like Mary Kay's talking about, the possibility of bringing in someone, it's like I'm not sure who exactly would be behind Jerome Ford at that point. Dan, you and I were talking about this today. You have Demetric Felton as an option. You have John Kelly Jr. as an option. Both of those guys obviously played in the Hall of Fame game, but it definitely is a question mark in terms of the depth chart there, I think.
Okay, so this is going to be the last video we do before that game, so let's do this real quick before we go. Mary Kay, what are you watching Friday night?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, and that was really just that connection between Deshaun Watson and Elijah Moore, like we've been watching it out here. It's dynamite. Elijah Moore has all the twitchiness. He's got the hands. He's got everything, the route running, every single thing that you would want to pair with Deshaun Watson. He's got it. So I'm going to be watching that. I know fans will be watching that as well. Of course, I want to see the connection with the other receivers as well. I mean, there are a lot of receivers and receiver decisions to be made. But, of course, you want to see how Deshaun and Amari look, how Donovan Peoples-Jones looks. David Bell is coming along. And so that's the number one thing on my list.
Yeah, and I'll stick with the receivers, too. Just kind of how the rest of that receiver room plays out behind the top guys, because all 4 quarterbacks are going to play. So we're going to see Kellen Mond, we're going to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson, we're going to see Josh Dobbs, and I want to see how those other receivers play with those guys. Can Austin Watkins make a push? How safe is David Bell? Can Anthony Schwartz kind of save his status on the roster? I think the bottom of that receiving room is really interesting. Ashley, what are you watching?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the other side of the ball so we can talk about the defense for a little bit. I think one of the things I'm going to be watching is is the front of that defense with the young edge rushers that they have out right now, and Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas, who both underwent scopes on their knees. So they're going to be out for we're not exactly sure how long, but I'm curious to see how things kind of fill in behind them. How much of Isaiah McGuire are we going to see, for example, the rookie edge rusher they drafted out of Missouri, and who's going to stand out in that group? Because depending on how long Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas are going to be out, I think you can't hurt to see what kind of depth you have there.
Okay, Browns and Commanders. Friday night, we wrapped up practice here in Berea. The next time the Browns take the practice field that we'll be able to see, it will be in Philadelphia. So we're all kind of turned our attention to that game on Friday night. Now, before we go, I promised some shout-outs. So our guy Cedric, who talks to us every day before we shoot these videos, we're going to make sure you stuck around to watch. And Ashley, our buddy Eileen.
Yeah, Eileen.
She's gotten selfies with both of us. Mary Kay, you still owe Eileen a selfie.
I'm next.
All right.
She was the lead in my Joe Thomas story from the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, Mary Kay, you got to get that selfie.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of our watchers, readers. You can read us at cleveland.com/Browns.